Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Let's Talk Wildlife podcast. I am your host, Courtney, and in today's episode, we will be discussing an absolutely iconic Australian marsupial and a little ecosystem engineer, the bilby. Now, unfortunately, their conservation status is vulnerable, and we have already lost one bilby species to extinction. So we are going to learn of ways we can successfully protect our bilbies today. And we learn all about the importance of our Australian deserts and what they have to offer, not just for our wildlife, but for us humans too. So thank you so much for tuning in. This is our conversation on our beautiful little bilbies. The bilby is endemic to Australia, meaning that it is only naturally found in this country. And being a marsupial, this means that our female bilby has a pouch. But unlike our koalas and our kangaroos, our bilby shares much more of a similar characteristic to our wombats, and that is that they actually have a backward-facing pouch. And there's a really simple explanation for this. Our bilbies are diggers, so when that female bilby is digging and tossing out all that soil and dirt, if she had a forward-facing pouch, she would be tossing that dirt into her pouch where her joey is stored. So to prevent this from happening, our bilby has evolved to have a backward-facing pouch. And I find that our bilby is quite an easily recognizable animal. They have that long snout, those tall hairless ears. They are extremely cute. They have that absolutely stunning blue to grey coloration and such silky fur as well. They are what I believe one of the prettiest animals to exist today and to probably have ever existed. But of course they also have that black band on their tail. Our bilbies are sexually dimorphic. This just means that one sex is significantly larger than the other. And in the case of our bilbies, our males are roughly 2 times larger than our female bilbies. Our little bilbies live in our northern part of Australia. So this spans from right here in our southwest of Queensland into the Northern Territory to the Tanami Desert. And our Tanami Desert actually harbours and is a refuge for a bunch of rare or endangered animals. So that's pretty cool. But our bilbies also live in Western Australia in our Pilbara and Kimberley regions. Unfortunately, the bilby's population has changed drastically since the 1700s or the European settlement. They actually did once inhabit 70% of Australia. They now only live in roughly 15%, which is so devastating and disheartening. And over the history of our bilbies, we actually had 2 different species. We have today the greater bilby. This is the bilby we are talking about in this episode and the one we can encounter out in our deserts. But we also had the lesser bilby. Unfortunately, the lesser bilby has been extinct since the 1950s. This is a result of predation by our introduced fox, feral cats, and the lesser bilby would have had competition for food and for their burrows with rabbits. And of course, increased fires that ripped through their habitats would have destroyed them and destroyed and reduced any vegetation growth. And our vegetation plays as a food source for our bilbies, but also a form of shelter from potential threats. So this is deeply concerning for the health of the ecosystem because our little bilbies are what is known as an ecosystem engineer. So you may have heard the term keystone species, and we have a few of those here in our beautiful country. We have our cassowaries and our fruit bats, which live up in our northern part of Queensland. But let's take the cassowary, for example. They keep and maintain our rainforests. They keep them healthy and balanced and thriving by dispersing seeds throughout the rainforest. This is pretty much what our bilby does, but in a different ecosystem, out in our deserts. The bilby actually helps water infiltrate the soil, and whilst they are digging, they help rejuvenate and provide vegetation growth and life. While they are doing this, they also collect seeds and collect leaves. And I do believe our little bilbies can actually turn over around 20 tons of topsoil each year. So they are incredibly important, and we really do want to see our bilbies flourish once again. Our deserts in general support such a huge range of diversity, from our wildlife, like our reptiles and our birds, to our plants. And some of these plants and animals live nowhere else in the world but right here in our Australian deserts. We have some of the most bizarre and unique animals, like our thorny devils. They are so magnificent and they have such cool characteristics. And if you perhaps show some likeness to the thorny devil as I do, perhaps watch out for a few episodes from now. The thorny devil might just pop up. But we have such incredible wildlife. We have goannas and emus. Emus, guys. They are such a cool animal to encounter in the wild. So although our deserts may appear to be empty and void of life, it is the complete opposite. They are teeming with life, and our deserts are absolutely thriving. We have 10 deserts here in Australia. We have our Tanami Desert, which we mentioned earlier. We also have 3 other deserts where our bilby inhabits. We have our Great Sandy Desert in Western Australia, which is the second largest desert. We have the Little Sandy and the Gibson. I do believe the Gibson Desert went through a pretty terrible drought back in the 1980s, so it is mainly grasslands and gravel now. But this desert still supports such important life forms. Our deserts support a very rich and diverse array of life, not just for our animals and our plants, but also they provide so much for us humans. Like our minerals, they provide gold and copper and opals and oils and natural gases. Our deserts, though, most importantly, capture and store massive amounts of carbon and lock it safely into the ground. So this just shows the absolute critical role that our deserts play in preventing additional carbon in our atmospheres. But our deserts can range in temperature. They can get to a scorching 50 degrees, or they can drop all the way down to 10 degrees Celsius. So you will find the majority of our desert dwellers are nocturnal, just like our bilby. So in the daytime, you tend to find our wildlife sheltering in rock crevices if they're a reptile, or for our little bilbies, they will be storing themselves in their little burrows to stay nice and cool in that soil. Australian deserts also have some of the most beautiful plants and flowers, and a lot of these are native to Australia. We have our honey grevillea, which is actually Queensland's native flower. We have our Stewart's desert rose, which is the Northern Territory's floral emblem. There is so much happening and so many beautiful things that grow and evolve out in our deserts. And I'm just so extremely grateful that I can share my lifetime with the wildlife and to explore and to experience all that, especially Australia, has to offer. I have traveled to over 15 countries, and I can say hand on heart that Australia is the most beautiful country in the world. There is no ifs, buts about it. Australia is too good to be true, from our wildlife to the people to nature. It just doesn't seem real. But back to our bilbies. Our bilbies live in such a variety of habitats, from our grasslands here in Queensland to our deserts and over to our dune fields. So this just means that their diet also has a massive range. They can consume termites and insects and beetles, and their favorites are spiders. And of course, they also consume leaves and succulents. So what can we do to help protect our bilbies? Because as we learned earlier, we have already lost one of our bilby species, and we now know how important they are for a healthy ecosystem out in our deserts, and also the effect that humans would have if we lost our bilbies altogether. So I would say the most effective way to protect our bilbies would to be building or maintaining predator-free zones. So for a few of our native species, like our numbats down in southwest of Western Australia, we have fenced sanctuaries or predator-free zones. So this gives these endangered native species a chance to survive and a chance to increase their populations without the risk of losing them from especially introduced animals like our fox and feral cats and rabbits. So we do have a few predator-free zones up in our northern part of Australia for our bilbies, and this is absolutely necessary to give them a chance to survive. Now, I have had the absolute privilege and honour of visiting the Charleville Bilby breeding facility, and can I just say right now, the rangers, the staff, everyone, such beautiful humans. I have never met people so kind before and so intellectual. The amount of knowledge they have about our bilbies and the way they are protecting them from our feral cats and from human activity is fantastic. This breeding facility has actually birthed around 50 bilbies just in the past couple of years. This is absolutely fantastic and great for our bilbies to help them boost their population, and the bilby breeding facility does reintroduce these bilbies into the wild, but into our predator-free zones. This breeding facility is absolutely just, I keep saying fantastic, but it is. It is incredible. The work they do is amazing. They are building equipment to protect them from feral cats, and they are learning more about their movements and their diet and their home ranges. This breeding facility is absolutely fantastic. And if you have a chance to visit or you're in that part of town, I would highly recommend getting to the breeding facility. And you also get to encounter the bilbies there as well. So if you would love to see a bilby and encounter them and you can't because they're out in our deserts, please get yourself to the breeding facility. They do such excellent work. If you wanted to help our bilbies personally, you could donate, whether that is to an organization you have found. I know that the Charleville breeding facility does have Save the Bilby Foundation, so you may want to check that out to help them to keep funding their research to protect our wild bilbies and also to increase their population by breeding. And may I say that their breeding is all done naturally. There is no forced mating, which is excellent. There is also WWF Australia you may want to check out. I believe they are doing the Kimberley Bilby project, which is to gather their scat, which would be genetic analysis, to learn about their movements and their home range and their habitats and their habits as well. And we do have Indigenous rangers out in Western Australia, which are protecting their land in which the bilby lives on. It just keeps getting better. There are so many kind-hearted people that are willing to put in the time and the effort to protect our native bilbies and native animals in general, and that I am so thankful for. But thank you so much. If you have made it all the way to the end of this episode, I want to say that you guys are some of the greatest people I have ever met, and I get so giggly when I get to interact with you guys. The amount of kind messages that I receive, I couldn't be happier. I'm so glad you are enjoying the podcast and you are learning stuff about our animals, how important they are, how cool they are. It's the best outcome that I could have possibly asked for. So thank you so much for always listening and tuning in and being so kind. Thank you so much. Of course, if you have a specific animal you would love to hear about, let me know. A few of you have reached out with an animal of your choice, and I will tell you right now, it is in the works. We do already have a few animals lined up, but we will get to yours. I promise I will not let you down. But that is all for today. Our bilbies are extremely cute, adorable, and so important for the health of our deserts. So I guess I'll be seeing you this time next week. Thank you so much again. Bye for now.